Today, it's movie recap time for Above the Shadows, a fantasy drama movie released in 2019. It all starts with a narrator introducing us to a girl who can't be seen, although she's not a ghost. The narrator is Holly, the main character. Holly mentions being the middle child out of 3 and considers herself an ordinary person. She often fades into the background, but her mother is always there to encourage her to speak up and be noticed. However, everything changes when her mother falls ill and passes away, even though the hospital staff considered the treatment effective. After her mother's passing, Holly begins to fade away. It starts at home, where her family only notices her when she tries hard to catch their attention. During meals, she notices that her father checks on her sister and brother but completely overlooks Holly. Frustrated, she points out that her father never asks about her life, but he barely hears her. Gradually, this invisibility extends to other parts of her life. In school, Holly raises her hand when the teacher asks for questions, but nobody hears her. By the end of summer, Holly disappears entirely from people's perception and memory. The truth becomes evident on her first day back at school when she oversleeps and no one wakes her up. Confronting her family, she realizes they don't acknowledge her presence. Trying to hold her father's hand startles him, scaring him. Holly, still unaware of what's happening, joins her family for a photo. To her dismay, when she sees the picture, she realizes she's not in it. Initially, she resists accepting her invisibility, but with time, it becomes clear she has vanished from everyone's lives. Eventually, she gets used to it and starts living in a corporation-rented flat. She relies on grocery deliveries to get food and does most of her work at night, capturing compromising photos of celebrities and selling them to tabloids. Despite being invisible, Holly continues to visit her family. Her brother Troy stays mostly at home, working on an experimental film in the basement. In the meantime, her sister Vanessa is eager to marry a Lithuanian man, while their father Paul has started a new career in commercial real estate. Friday night dinners remain a cherished family tradition, and Holly attends, although she is just an observer. Her invisibility allows her to walk around without worrying about societal norms, rules, or even her appearance. One evening, while secretly following a couple to snap some pictures, Holly is seen by Shane, a former MMA fighter who works there as a bouncer. Shane tells her she can't be there and kicks her out of the club. To Holly's dismay, Shane can see, hear, and even touch Holly. Despite her attempts to stop him from leaving, he goes back inside. This revelation makes Holly believe that others can now hear her. However, when she approaches different people, she's ignored just as before. The next day, Holly visits her mother's grave, sharing the news that someone can finally see her. Memories flood back as Holly recalls a heartfelt conversation with her mother, Victoria. As she was already quite sick, Victoria promised that she would always be there for Holly, in the wind, whenever she needed her. Back to the present, as Holly gets home, she notices one of the gossip magazines she has collected. On the cover, there is a photo of Shane kissing another woman, caught in an act of cheating. The picture makes Holly realize that Shane is not just an ordinary bouncer. Intrigued, she begins searching for information about him and discovers he is actually a former MMA world champion. She finds that his career skyrocketed with successive victories in a short time. Adding to his fame, he was in a romantic relationship with Juliana, a famous actress. However, their story took a negative turn when pictures of Shane's infidelity surfaced, leading to an inevitable breakup and a backlash from fans. Things got even worse when he was defeated by Attila, his main rival. After learning about Shane's life, Holly goes to the club and patiently waits for his arrival. When she shows him the newspaper, he gets angry and asks what she wants. Holly simply admits to taking the incriminating photo. Confused, Shane questions why she's telling him that, given the negative impact it had on his life. Holly expresses her desire to make things better for him. Shane then jokingly insists that she must fix everything that went wrong with his life as a way to compensate for her actions. Holly agrees to give it a try. Shane doesn't take her seriously and tries to walk away to a meeting with his manager. Holly simply asks for 5 minutes in their company to prove a point, promising to leave him alone if she can't help, so Shane agrees. At the bar, Shane quickly realizes that his manager can't see Holly. She helps him during the meeting by looking over his manager's phone and revealing information he wasn't supposed to know. Shane's manager was trying to deceive him, but Holly caught him in the act. Feeling unsettled, Shane leaves the bar and demands an explanation from Holly. When she confesses her invisibility, Shane is confused because he can see her clearly. To prove her point, Holly steps in front of an approaching taxi, stating that if the driver sees her, he will stop. Shane tells her to get out of the way, but Holly does not move. At the last second, He gets in the way and pushes her to safety as the taxi driver gets enraged. Shane says it's the girl's fault, but the man calls him crazy and leaves. Shane finally starts to believe that Holly is telling the truth. Exhausted, Shane invites Holly to his home the next day, sharing his address. Holly goes to his place and reveals that she was once visible. Choosing to believe her condition isn't permanent, she thinks that by fixing the problems caused by her actions, they can restore normalcy in both their lives. Shane admits that he is still struggling, so he invites Holly to witness an underground fight where he emerges victorious. At the end of the fight, his manager only gives him $300, raising suspicion in Holly's mind. Shane claims his motivation comes from a genuine love for the sport and not from money. Holly then suggests finding stronger opponents and better fighting venues to earn more money, but Shane doubts that anyone big would fight him. Keen to help, Holly requests a list of names, telling him that she will handle the research. After careful examination, Holly finds a guy who has faced a steroid scandal in the past. She quickly goes to his house and sends him a photo of the steroids he's using. She uses the photo to persuade him to fight Shane. Soon after, Holly goes to Shane's place to share the good news. As he gets a call from his manager, he finds out that he will be facing Carlos Suarez. He gets curious about how she pulled it off, but Holly simply advises him to focus on training for the fight. Holly spends time taking pictures of Shane to help shape his image. Noticing a notification on Holly's phone about Troy's birthday, Shane asks about her family. He listens carefully to Holly's description of her sister and suggests that Vanessa might be pregnant. Holly then visits Vanessa's place to borrow some clothes. Since she doesn't do well in big crowds, Holly goes to Shane's apartment to watch the fight. In spite of the 5-year break, Shane fights well and unexpectedly wins. His manager cheers him on but also tells him that the money is not as good as expected. It becomes clear he's been taking big portions from Shane's payments. Back home, Shane meets up with Holly, and she congratulates him. He then invites her to the rooftop to enjoy the view of the full moon and celebrate. Soon after, Holly gets upset when Shane wonders if she's real since he's the only one who can see her. Holly argues that her existence is not invalidated just because others cannot see her. Shane apologizes and expresses his wish for her to be real. Holly challenges him to prove it, and he leans in for a kiss. At the moment, a journalist invades their privacy and takes a photo. Shane tries to chase him, but the man escapes and locks them up on the rooftop. Holly tells Shane not to worry, as she won't be visible in the picture. They lay down next to each other and deepen their connection. Later that night, Holly gets physical for the first time in her life. The next day, Holly comes across a tabloid with Shane and a girl's shadow on the cover. The girl is called the Shadow Girl, and Holly is surprised that she actually appeared in the photo. Later on, Shane goes to a press conference and encounters his next opponent, Tommy Bones, who does some trash talk. Shane reveals that he has finally ended his partnership with his manager. When questioned about Shadow Girl, the press assumes it to be Juliana, his ex-girlfriend. Shane chooses not to comment. Shortly after, Holly sneaks into Tommy's limousine. She blackmails him with incriminating photos of him involved with a girl still in high school. Holly demands that he lose the fight against Shane. When Holly goes to the club after Shane's work, Juliana calls him. He confesses that he wasn't expecting to hear from her, and Holly sarcastically states that it's nice of her to call after he started winning big fights again. Tommy Bones gives in to Holly's demands, and Shane wins another one. Soon after, Holly contacts her tabloid connection with an idea for an exclusive story about Shane. The man refuses, saying nice stories don't sell. Holly changes her strategy and reveals that Shane's former rival, Attila, is interested in a rematch. Since she's made it all up, the man can't confirm the information. Holly pressures him by saying that if he doesn't publish it, she will inform his competitor. The man then decides to publish the news of the rematch, claiming that if it isn't true, the news will make it so. Holly breaks into Attila's apartment but finds nothing on him. Afterward, she returns the borrowed clothes to her sister's house and finds Vanessa crying in the bathroom. It turns out Shane was correct and Vanessa is actually pregnant, although she chooses not to tell her husband about it. Holly receives a message indicating that Juliana is on a date at the lounge. To get another story, she goes there and finds Shane as Juliana's date. After being accused of spying on him, Holly explains that she actually came for Juliana, unaware that he was her date. Holly gets upset and asks him if the night they spent together meant nothing to him. He adds that he enjoys Holly's company, but the fact that she is invisible to everyone else makes it complicated. In his defense, he claims that Holly also used him to try to become visible again. Holly then shares that she can't help him anymore since she couldn't find anything on Attila. She can't guarantee a win this time. That's when Shane realizes that Holly has been fixing his fights for him. Enraged, he demands that she leave him alone from now on. Holly's life then returns to its usual routine as she continues to sell compromising photos of celebrities. She also sees news of Juliana and Shane dating, which upsets her. One evening, she hears a knock on her door. Shane enters her place and confesses that his life got caught in a whirlwind, not just because of the photo Holly took. It turns out he got cocky after his rapid ascension, becoming lazy and cheating. He asks how he can make amends, and Holly immediately kisses him. However, he pulls away and says he's not that kind of person anymore. As advice, he suggests that Holly come to terms with what happened to her. He adds that maybe she isn't seeing the whole picture of why she faded away. Holly takes offense, interpreting Shane's words as blaming her for her own invisibility. Before leaving, Shane leaves a flyer for his rematch against Attila, hoping she'll be there. Minutes later, Holly notices her reflection no longer appears in the mirror, indicating things are getting even worse. She rushes to the gym to seek comfort from Shane, but when she knocks on the window, Shane hears the sound but can't see her. Holly desperately waves her arms to get his attention, but receives no response. She witnesses Juliana handing him a towel and leaves, heartbroken. Suddenly, Shane asks Juliana if she approached him because of his victories. She confirms it and refuses to apologize, saying she doesn't date losers. Holly thinks about the family's past mistakes and decides to act. She starts by helping her sister tell her husband about her pregnancy. Holly purposely knocks over a trash can and exposes a pregnancy test. She then visits Troy and compliments his experimental film. When his crush walks by his place, Holly knocks her down to get her brother to help her. This makes her wonder why their father never pursued romantic relationships. While looking around his room, she realizes that he is still in love with their late mother. Holly learns that the loss of her mother affected the whole family, not just her. She acted selfishly as if she were the only one suffering, ignoring the grief felt by her loved ones. She looks at Shane's flyer and decides to attend the fight. She gets there in the middle of the event and attempts to overcome her fear of large crowds. She eventually approaches the cage and cheers passionately for Shane, even though he can't see or hear her. When Shane gets knocked down, Holly rushes into the cage, filled with worry. The round ends, and Shane recovers in his corner. Holly kneels in front of him, whispering words of encouragement and touching his hand. When he opens his eyes, he finally sees Holly again. Surprisingly, others can also see her this time. People start complaining about her, and before the fight ends, a security guard steps in and escorts Holly out. She realizes that she's now visible to others as well. Despite Shane's loss in the fight, his thoughts are concentrated on Holly. He ends his relationship with the self-centered Juliana and goes to find Holly. He catches up with her and tells the guard she's with him. They finally reunite with a passionate kiss. The movie ends with Holly going to see her father. He looks at her for a long time and finally recognizes her, resulting in a heartfelt embrace. Thanks for watching. If you like our content, please like the video and don't forget to subscribe.